Guys, thank you so much for coming. Really appreciate every one of you coming out tonight. And we did this in Melbourne. We had a great night. Hope you guys are going to get a lot out of it. Please ask as many questions as possible when you can. And the first section, we'll be talking about, I think maybe Australia's not got hit as quite as hard as some of the other places in the world with recruitment, but talent teams have got stronger, tech's got better, fees have got squeezed, headcount has reduced in a lot of cases. So we're all seeing a bit of optimism in the market again now. So as we go to build back, we want to learn how to do it a bit better this time. So we've got a mixture of tech and finance, and John Bork, I'm not sure why he's here.
He begged me to speak.
Try and get as much out of the talkers as possible. So I'm just going to let them introduce themselves to get us kicked off. But before I do that, once we go through this first section, we'll have a quick break, refill the glasses, have a good time. And then we'll get the star of the show, Dara Everard. No, sorry, it's Paul Masters, but Dara Everard's going to help him out. And in that there, we'll be able to discuss what things look like from a big picture. So Paul has run the accounts of many, many businesses. So everybody says they're doing well. Everybody says they're the greatest business in the world. Paul actually knows who's doing well and what the average figures are. And Dara's a great operator who can maybe help us delve into what we can actually do to achieve productivity. Okay. So I will start with this lovely lady to my left.
Hello.
Hello. Can you give us a bit of a rundown into yourself and your business, please?
Of course. Hello. Nice to meet you. I am Victoria from A Positive. For those who don't know, we are a funding company. We help recruitment agencies and labour hire start, scale, and succeed.
Perfect. Thank you, Victoria. So I'm Manu. I'm one of the founders of Spot. Spot is an AI native ATS and CRM, which was started a year and a half ago. And we already got to close to 1,000 users. Happy to be here.
Oh, hi, I'm John. I run Starting Recruitment, and we run Recvi, which is an AI note taker for Job Hatter, Bullhorn, Fincherry, Voxo.
You're not a rec direct, though, right?
Australia's number one rec direct. Yeah. I've let Dolder on my patch tonight.
He's a terrible rec direct. He is the most backouts of any rec direct.
Is there any associate directors in this room that we've placed over the years? Dolder, can you say the same? Yeah. Is it the two good looking lads? You can ask the same question now, Dolder.
Oh no, really?
It's going to be a good night.
Oh no. Did you set that up?
Thanks, Joes.
Did you set that up?
They're always my case study. Yeah.
The 2 stars. Oh, I'm gutted. Okay,
Should have thought of that one earlier, mate.
Okay. So
I talked to those 2 guys.
All right. So, John, let's chat about the market.
Mm-hmm.
You're selling everything to recruitment firms these days, right?
Yep. Likewise.
Yeah, maybe. What's it doing? What are your customers saying? What are you seeing from what they're doing with their people to their technology? Give us your insight.
Like I've been saying to a few people earlier tonight and last week, Australian market is always super positive in January, right? There's just like a sense of optimism. That happened last year, and then obviously last year wasn't a great market for everyone. It's really carried on this year towards the end of Feb, right? So people are having more jobs on, there's placements. For the first time in about 18 months, we're getting rookie desk requests, right? Which is a really big indicator that the market is expected to do a lot better. And we're even seeing that across like our demos for our platform, where we're getting inbound leads, which is last year. That just didn't happen. Last year, people were trying to consolidate, save a lot of money. But we've noticed that, there's more roles on. People have a more optimistic view of what is going to happen this year.
Wonderful. Yeah. We got through that. That was
we
tough.
Got through it. Swap the mic. Yeah.
We're swapping again.
To be quite loud. So.
Okay, so there's a bit of optimism. Show of hands. Who's hiring rookies versus who's hiring experienced hires? Rookies. Experienced hires.
James, go get the numbers quickly.
Okay. So 50-50, that's pretty good.
Which, like, if you asked that same question mid last year, it would have been 100% experienced rookies, experienced recruiters versus rookies.
Yeah. At least you didn't build a training platform for rookie recruiters and launch it in the same year.
Shout out,
Shout out
Orca. Yeah.
Anyway.
Everything, Dollar.
Yeah. Here we are. Okay, so optimism's is in the air. People are talking a lot about AI. Oh, is it all noise? Well, what's happening?
Mate, funnily enough, we've moved away from branding RecView as an AI platform. So I think where a lot of the noise comes from is it's quite easy to build platforms now, especially over the last, like since December and Claude releasing a lot of their agentic coding tools, is you can build a platform quite quickly. Does it integrate? Is it secure? There are different questions. I think people like the idea of AI, but they like the idea of trusting the workflow that they're doing. So, for example, everything that we do at RecView is updating data. It doesn't allow that data to influence any decision or send any random emails or random text. So I think a lot of the fear in AI is that they've tested out AI products. It's not worked very well, or it hasn't lived up to the expectations because the tech just wasn't there. I think that'll probably shift over the next 6 to 12 months as tech gets better, these platforms get better. But one thing that we always say to clients, it's like you need to identify the problem that you're trying to solve first. Like I've bought every single shiny SaaS tool that's ever existed.
How bad is the latest LinkedIn?
Real bad, right? Like it's like you just get it. Like I've getting just constant demo requests. I'm like, oh, I'll try that. Yep, it'll work. Never sign up for something that's a 12-month contract before you've even demoed the product or before you're allowed to trial it. So identify the pain point or the workflow that you're trying to solve and then go to market to look for the product that's going to solve it is one of the things that we tell our clients.
Manu. So Manu has launched an ATS and they've done an incredible funding round. They've got loads of customers on board. And we've got 1,000 recruitment founders within RecWed, and we're seeing a massive buzz towards them. And in fairness, one of their competitors as well, Atlas, there seems to be this move towards a new type of ATS. I'll be lying to you if I pretend that I'm in the detail and I understand the difference between this AI or that AI, but that's why we interview these experts. So Manny, tell us the difference between what are the legacy ATSs do compared to what the new ones do, and what does it mean for us?
Yeah, I think the goal of what an ATS does for you has just fundamentally shifted or is shifting because the adoption is still relatively low. I think most of the people in the room will not be on Spot or Atlas. I think most are on JobAdder or Bullhorn. If you go to if you look at legacy ATSs, the focus was to be a database, to dump your database, and the focus was to have control over that data, both for I think the more senior people in the business to look what recruiters are, kind of junior recruiters are doing, like analytics and stuff. That was very important, and also because your database is then the value of your agency. So eventually, yeah, that was kind of the core goal of doing that. So that's why we called the system of records. That's what an ATS was actually was until then. Now basically when it's switching, what it's switching to is from like a system of records, a database, to a system of action. So something that can actually work alongside you. That's where we're actually getting to. So the core goal is not anymore to just dump data in there. It needs to go automatically via LinkedIn integration, email integration, note taker. The data kind of needs to go automatically into the ATS, so you don't have to spend a lot of time doing that. And then if you have all the data in there, AI is really good if you have a lot of context. If the system then has all the context and AI can basically look at all the information that went in there, which is of course much more that you can possibly humanly remember, because you're not going to remember all your mails and calls. Then you can actually do something with it, and that doing something with it, that's then what a system of action is. So it's going to work alongside you. It's never going to place you. It's still a human process, but it's going to suggest certain things. For example, if you had a conversation, it's going to suggest maybe this tag or the candidate mentioned the new salary. Maybe could you then update the salary in the system so that you always have the latest information without having to do kind of all the effort. And then also eventually, if you're going to present them to a candidate, if you're going to present the candidate to a client, you can also do that. It also helps you with drafting the emails and just helping you in general. So I think the move is just from a system of like record database to a system of action in AI native ATS.
Anybody have any questions on that? It's quite a technical thing, so probably looking for an expert to ask a question. No? Yes? Awesome.
Just on the basis of, so looking at them previously as historical databases, I know that a big concern of a lot of agency owners at the moment is if you're transitioning to a newer system that focuses on those actions, how do you import that data cleanly to make sure that you can still utilize it rather than just focusing on that new data that's incoming with those integrations? So what's the solution to then import the old data to make sure that it maps well to the new system?
Yeah, that's a very good question because it's super important to get that data because data is everything. So I think also the newer ATSs and spend a lot of money at Spot. 20% of our staff does data migrations. It's a lot. Like that's super important. But the nice thing is with the newer ATSs and CRMs, they're more flexible. So they're more set because when I was actually in the first selling to Bullhorn, a lot of our customers also had Excel on the side. They did their BD on Excel, and I was like, "Yeah, how did this actually happen?" And they're like, "Yeah, we cannot create those cells in Bullhorn, and it's kind of too slow, so we don't bother." And that's a lot of information that's lost. And BD, as you know, as an agency, you're not an in-house recruiter. It's quite important, and that's in the system. That's not even your ATS. So it's like, okay, if we build a better ATS and CRM, it needs to be on the system. So we made it much more flexible, so we can put all the information that's used to be in Excel into the system, and that also helps with data migrations because you can create any column, any type, whatever it is in Spot, and then you can just map it, and then we set it over, and there's 0%. There's just zero data loss, and that is very important. So I think the only data loss that there could be is just around. Yeah, because about like historical numbers, when did you do this action and when you did this action. So that's the only thing that's not perfect. But for the rest, it's like the data migrations these days are quite clean, and we focus a lot of it. And I think other AI native ATSs and CRMs are also focus a lot on the data migration part.
Victoria, to the numbers.
The important bit.
The important bit. So everybody's growing again. How can we afford it? Do we have to wait until we get paid? What does that work? What does that look like? And can I explain that whole world? Because I kind of thought I had an idea of what a funding service like yours did, but then you explained it to me and I realized I don't know anything.
That's quite common. So for those of you who don't know, a lot of you will, but obviously funding is a core part of our business. We have 3 parts. I'll just talk to you briefly about them, but tell you really how you can utilize them to growth. Certainly those of you who are in that startup phase and you're looking at, okay, I'm literally paying my contractors weekly. I'm getting paid 45 days end of month. Like, what do I do? How do I manage that? How do I grow when I've got that kind of looming over my head? So funding is a great way to do that. It's releasing the cash from your own invoices. So you're not taking loans. You don't have external to pay. You're literally leveraging your own book. So that's one part. Payroll is another part that we do. Different conversation, not one for growth at this point in time, but the one I did want to talk to you about because it was something that came up quite a bit in Melbourne was APay, which is leveraging your perm invoices. So actually offering your clients an option to pay in installments or via credit card, meaning that you get paid upfront on credit card within 48 hours. So you're not actually waiting, you're driving cash into the business, which then enables you to grow in a different way. So it's just a different way of thinking about how you can leverage your own book, essentially, just really kind of looking in the details. And what that allows you to do then is focus your time because you're not chasing invoices because they're already being paid. Perm in particular, from an APay point of view, we know that that's a sticking point for clients. It was why the product was born. It came out of a need from the industry, so that actually we take that responsibility from you. It's set and forget and off you go.
So some people don't pay me sometimes. They're not in this room. But it has happened. It happens in Rec Direct, right? Yeah. Yeah.
He's using APay, that's why.
Yeah, there you go.
We do actually.
So I have to call.
They would like to pay their
I have to call a guy called back. I have to call a guy called Backdoor Barry whenever it happens, and then we've all had to call him at some stage, right? And then he goes and breaks down some doors and threatens them, and then they eventually pay me, and nobody really wins except for Backdoor Barry. Do you guys take care of that stuff? Because I mean, that I'd pay for that.
Yeah, we take care of all of that. So APay in the installments is a non-recourse facility. So we buy the invoice from you essentially, and then they pay by direct debit, which is taken automatically. And that's our responsibility to collect the debt. Just to kind of put things into perspective though, people always pay us. I think we've had 2 in the entirety of our existence, which was 2019. We set up, we've just done our 1,000th invoice, and we've only ever had 2 that have kind of pushed the boundary, because there's a big difference between not paying a financial institution and not paying a recruiter. So it gives you that security. And one of the things that kind of from a consultant level, I know there's not that many in the room, but where that's important is it means that the commissions are guaranteed, because you're always going to get paid.
Do you guys do the terms as well? Because it's always the terms that they find a way. Like,
So yeah, because they sign our terms. So your
Okay.
terms will always stay in play, your replacement guarantee, but they sign an agreement with us saying, I'm going to pay you X amount in 6 installments. And that's what is legally binding. So that's what protects you. We pay you in full up front, and that's your job done.
Manu, okay, so you're developing ATS. Yes, should
On that point, who pays for? There's obviously a service fee involved.
Yeah.
Who pays for the service fee? Is it the recruitment agency or the end user, the client?
No, it's the end user. So it's free for you to use. It integrates into your invoice. It's just a link at the bottom of the invoice that they click. They pay the fee. If you want to, you can pay the fee, because you can use it as a bit of a sales negotiating tool. But ordinarily, that's passed on to the end customer.
It's a great question.
So we actually use APay for we've pivoted our Rec Direct business to do like project statements of work, and where we use it is to get all our salaries paid quickly, right? So we invoice for the full quarter, and then it allows the client to break it up, much like Afterpay. But the cool thing about it is that it just sits on the invoice. It then goes to the client, and they've got the option to do it, so they can go, cool, I want to pay 30 grand. If I do it over installments, it's going to cost me, an extra $1,000 or whatever the thing works out. So we use it as a sell point to go, hey, you can pay this monthly, or you can pay it all up front. Recruitment agencies tend to like to prioritize cash flow, so they will do it. And then for some clients, we have used it as a sell, like I'll message Victoria and go, oh, we need to eat the interest on this because the client doesn't want to pay the extra bit. But it's a way to kind of add a bit more consult into the process rather than just send an invoice. So it works really well, especially now that it integrates with Xero. Like we've started using it. It's great for Rec to Rec.
What do you think is something that is not going to be around, a product that everybody's selling right now, except for John's note taker?
Number one note taker.
Number one note taker. What do you think, Manny? Like you're trying to develop, or you are developing a product that swallows up a lot of the ecosystem into one thing. So you log in, you do it, and you go, no need for John anymore. All right.
Integration coming though.
We
And then Spot will have the Australian one. So.
yeah.
I think what happened is you have those legacy systems, and then there was just a database, and we were already going to a trend towards like a system of action. So what happened is there are a lot of add-ons came up, a lot of startups to then sell you a solution for the shortcomings of the job adders and the bullhorns and those kind of things. So what will happen? What I believe will happen is that how I see the future is that then you will have a stronger AI native ATS and CRM. It's actually easier to build these days than it used to be.
What is native AI? I'm stupid. Tell me.
Yeah, it's AI native is that our data infrastructure is set up in a completely different way. I think it used to be like a relational database. That's quite technical. It's like in Excel. Everything is in cells. Everything is in attribute values columns. While now, we have a full sync with a vectorized database. So it's like a mathematical space where it basically understands text, like ChatGPT.
I tried to explain this to you earlier. I really failed, right?
But I don't think anyone.
Yeah, that's a very.
He lost me in the vectors.
Daldo was trying to explain it to me before. I'm like, you have no idea what you're talking.
He went, let's just go to Ryan's bar, will we?
The difference is to try to make it easy is there's a difference between doing Boolean search and semantic search. So Boolean, everything is in filters. You just pick out the right filters, while semantic search is text, and then it actually searches your database based on the text. And it's not the same as on LinkedIn that it goes to text and then translates to Booleans and then does Boolean in the background. That's still something different. That's not real vectorized database. Vectorized database and semantic search is just put in text, no booleans, nothing, just goes and then just goes through all the data, all the notes, all the CVs, LinkedIn profiles, all the companies, all the data that basically exists in your system, and will then, for example, return someone for matching, or will write outbound campaigns for you, etc. So that's a bit the difference. So what I believe actually where the industry will go to is that the core ATS and CRM will do much more and will be a system of action. Add-ons are probably gonna, I think, suffer a bit. But what is that?
Or be sold to the ATS and make loads of money in John's on the beach.
Yeah, or if you're really good at if the add-on is kind of substantially better than the rest, I think it could still exist. But what I also will see happening, or foresee happening, is actually that recruitment agencies themselves are also going to build some add-ons. They are actually going to build the add-ons. So the ATS and CRM will already have like the 5-6 most common add-ons that I think some of you or most of you will have, besides the Bullhorn or Job Adder. For example, analytics, automations, a couple of more of those. But then what will happen is that some of you will actually build your own add-ons. For example, a client portal. You were like, okay, we'll go to Lovable, or like those vibe coding tool. The most tech-savvy guy in your company will just start prompting, and they will create like a custom client portal that you can show to your customers, and no one else can show it because you kind of built it. And so especially, I think branding, etc., is going to be more and more important in the future, especially if you have AI. It's going to be a bit easier to find candidates. So it's all going to be about, if 5 people reach out to a candidate, which agency are they going to respond to? If a client has like 5 people in their inbox, who are they going to respond to? So it's going to be more, I think, about branding, and to improve that branding, I think there will also be some vibe coded tools by agencies, which I find like exciting. I think that we start to see it now, but it's literally only 0.1% of probably the agencies that start experimenting with it. But I think in end of this year, next year, AI is getting really good. I think AI is already capable of doing it. But it just takes a bit of time. We're all humans. We're not gonna change our behavior in one day.
And John, where do you see the future going?
I somewhat disagree with that.
Lovely. That's what we want.
Only on the recruiters will build their own products, right? So we were having this conversation last week in Melbourne. Small agencies do like to, log into Zapier, build N8N. Your bigger agencies aren't going to spend time doing that. They will either employ someone in-house to do that, or they will pay for products. So I do think that the ATS CRMs will be updated and they'll go to a better search. But I don't think that a recruiter is going to sit there vibe coding, mainly just due to them not wanting to be that interested in that, and that it not being the most secure place for them to be uploading candidate and client data, right? So I think that that's where it comes from. Again, I do that, but I'm a bit of a nerd, right? So I'm like a recruiter, but I enjoy doing that. There's a few of them in recruitment agencies, but I don't think the bigger ones will do that. I do think that there will be a shift in the tools that they're using. But again, like we were chatting last week in Melbourne, like a lot of the databases that people are using, like your juice boxes, have just, scraped LinkedIn databases, and a lot of people are using the same data. So I think it will be based on the actions that are happening within the ATS, the conversations that recruiters are having, and recruiters will, rather than just using their ATS as a, cool, this candidate's pretty good, I can place them at X, they'll actually have conversational data in there that they can do updates with. So I agree with you on that point. Yeah.
Maybe one comment on the recruiters not kind of going to vibe code. What I see, and before this I worked at McKinsey, and I saw that a lot of kind of larger agencies that they built those very kind of extensive Excel models, which was for me the exact same. Who's gonna spend like a lot of time building these very kind of extensive BD and analytics Excel models, which is also what I would think, like recruiters are also not Excel wizards per se. And still they had someone in the company decided to build this Excel model, which everyone uses then for like 15 years.
Yeah, I think it's good to have that one nerd in the company. They can make things happen. Like where I can see a lot of things happening is, and I'm very simple when it comes to this, as you know, John. You can get a lot out of me at lunch. So I'm doing the phone call. It's recorded, or WhatsApp, and it's recorded. Goes into the database. It was a job. It was half talk about a job thing. It expands it out. It kind of guesses what I want. It then does a bit of sourcing for me. Comes back, gives me a top 3, creates some messages. I hit yes. The messages go out. Advert goes out as well. All the multi-touch stuff that we do all along, like, all of that should happen automatically. How far are we away from pressing that button and it going bang, and we're in Ryan's bar having a good time?
Like a lot of that stuff already exists. Like we do part of that at RecView. Where I think the problem with AI is that it's like you can automate a lot of it, but you shouldn't automate to 10,000 contacts that are in your database on a job that you have, right? Because people don't come back. Like I used to use a lot of, I've probably hit everyone in this room, a lot of LinkedIn automation, right?
You and me both, buddy.
Yeah, I know. Like, yeah, we got the same tools, right? Like the last couple of weeks, I've just been DMing people on the tram on the way to work, and the response rate's way better, right? Because obviously you're sending a personal message to that person. So I think it's there, but the point that you touched on, which is allowing the AI to do that. So for example, when like we capture conversational data from a phone call, it'll automatically update, job adder and bullhorn, and then we'll create like a lead list of jobs that candidate's right for. You probably want to leave it there, right? Because again, all the tools that we're trying to use as recruitment agencies, talent acquisition teams are also trying to use. You don't want to then fire off an email based on the conversation that you've had automatically to that candidate, because as a recruiter, and I think at the moment, everyone focuses too much on tech. As a recruiter, like tech's a very small part of what we do, right? It's like building the relationship, actually doing the role. Everyone's like now, because AI is coming, they're trying to automate everything and do everything, myself included. When you go back to the basics, like we've just been calling people this year, way better response rate. Because there's been so much automation and AI, people are used to it. So you just, like everything, you're just trying different channels. But I think it's using that to automate parts of the job that are admin heavy and boring and not revenue generating, and then focusing on the revenue generating activities so that you've got more time to do them.
Victoria, what do you think about the future of recruitment? Our livelihoods depend on it. Like, give me a good answer here. Like, are we going to survive? What are you seeing when you're selling to these people?
I think we just need to be smarter with what we're doing as well. Certainly, just touching on what John said there, this is a relationship business, but when it comes to your finance and your funding, you kind of really need to get on top of your numbers. I'm just going to mention it briefly. In order to survive, Payday Super is coming, and we need to be on top of it. It's something that, for whatever reason, we're not talking enough about.
What is it?
So it means that they're going to have to pay same-day super contributions within a 7-day window. So if you've got a contractor book of 100, you're going to have to pay their super contributions same day. You can't pay it in 3 months' time. So there's going to be a huge cash flow shortage for a lot of agencies. So it's really kind of getting on top of those things, like even paying your own staff. For some of you, you might not be paying super weekly, you're paying it, quarterly, monthly, however that is. John and I had that same conversation. It's very common across the industry, but where growth's going to come from an AI point of view, this is like where you get really into detail of using your tech stack to really analyze your bottom line, like looking at the numbers from a point of view. Okay, what's worth it in terms of an investment, and how's that going to affect me moving forward? How can I use that to my strength? So can I get into detail about what my consultants are doing, how they're performing, where they're going, so that then I can free up some cash to go, actually, do you know what? bringing another consultant isn't the right way to go right now. I'd actually be better investing in X, Y, and Z because you can really get close.
By
always
the recruiter from the rec to rec. Oh.
Buy the recruiter from the rec to rec. Certainly if you got starved.
Okay, guys. Before we finish up the first section, anybody have any questions on anything that we've talked about, from finance to AI to tech, future of recruitment? Here we go.
So you all have models to make recruitment's lives much easier. In your opinion, like, you all have things to make recruitment's lives much easier, which I'm all for. But in your opinion, what are the things that you'll never be able to do from a recruitment perspective?
The
So
things that
what's going to be left?
Yeah, the things that we get paid to do, right? So like, even like, obviously I know a lot of people in this room. When we set up starting recruitment, we tried to, and we still did, we automated a lot of it. But the philosophy behind that was so that we could automate a lot of the admin heavy things so that we could speak to more candidates and clients every single day.
Now,
Right.
me and you are guilty of doing trying to automate way too much. Like,
But it's like it's the parts that you like. If you're automating certain parts so that then you can actually go and have a coffee with a candidate, that's a good automation, right? So like, that is the part that I feel you should be using AI and automation for. It's when you see products that are like have an AI interviewer, it's an avatar, and it's like, we're already on the back foot being recruitment agents, right? Like, people probably don't want to have that conversation with us. If you're then sending an avatar to interview them, that's a bad case of automation, right? Where if you're doing it to just like quickly send out personalized emails to them booking a time, a good use of automation, because you can then have more conversations in that day. So I think it just comes down to, and how we look at it in our business is this going to allow us to speak to more people in a day? Yes or no? That's all we look at.
so I'm always a bit conflicted on this question. One, down to my own laziness. So largely, like, whenever we're moving people, let's say one candidate has 5 interviews or whatever it looks like, because we want to have control over them. And there's a lot of scheduling that happens there. Like to do it, I love to give that away. Like, I don't want to do it. It's not, my life's not worth living if I have to schedule bloody interviews. I hate it, right? But then I spoke to one of the best independent recruiters in the world, Rich Rosen, and he's like, no, I schedule every one, because that's the touch points. They're the points when I influence the deal.
Yeah.
Now, my life's still all right, but he's a way better recruiter. So there's, yeah. I think we can be guilty of testing out too much. We can give away a lot of admin, but we don't want to lose the touch points that create the trust, which influence the deal. And I suppose the longer you're at it, and you're doing this quite a while now, the better you get at influencing over a short period of time. But he's the best, and he doesn't give away the touch points.
And I also, maybe one small point to add here is that the BD side of things is actually also gonna be even more important, because no one likes being sold to, and definitely not by an AI.
Yeah.
So the whole
AI sales agents.
AI is not gonna negotiate for you. AI is not gonna kind of get new clients. So actually, the BD part of things is gonna be more important. I think you also see a shift more from 360 to 180, and then that BD part of things, I believe, will be even more important with AI.
Yeah. Sell. Yes.
So my question's kind of to the room, just on the back of that. I'm really curious for those who are using AI, like especially if we talk about BD to a new client, whether you're floating a candidate or just trying to make an introduction. Is your first touch point AI or some email or something, even if it's personalized, the message that's going out in text versus picking up the phone? Who's doing kind of email versus who's doing phone? We do a little email,
So yeah.
I'd probably say a bit of both.
Yeah.
But I found, I don't know, I and this is just me personally, I think the idea of the old school pick up the phone and smash the phone on the cold school style, I think that's dead. I think if I'm making 100 phone calls, I've got enough tech now with AI controlling that admin side of thing and looking at the research. I can now orchestrate a list of 10 people that I know are worth speaking to. So if I'm going to smash the phone and make 10 phone calls, those are warm phone calls because I already understand exactly why I'm calling you, rather than when I first started in recruitment and you've got one long ass spreadsheet and you're just smashing through hoping how you're going to achieve it, right?
To build that into a bit more, I would say you're going to have 100 target clients. Maybe 10 of those will pay your bills. You're going to have 2,000 candidates within your niche. So what's your value proposition to both? Do you have their data? What value proposition are you bringing to their data? So is it your podcast? Is it a salary survey? Is it market research? Is it an event? Like, what are you doing to engage all of that data to make them trust you, know you, want to engage with you? And from there, then when you do pick up the phone to them, maybe they're in your WhatsApp group, maybe they're on your email list, maybe they know you from LinkedIn. They're much likelier to engage. But I think this is a reason why we're going to survive, at least in the short term, is that if we're focused on this marketplace that we're into, these people are going to trust us rather than machines. And as long as we have the data, the proposition, and our own skill set, we'll be okay.
Yeah,
Personality.
I think it's as well like selling your personality, like Vic said. And our sales strategy is always email, LinkedIn connect with them. We post a lot of content, they see that, and then we all like within the space, like quite closely, then we call them, because what we've found is and James and I, who run the Rec to Rec, both worked at S3, which was like, just pick up the phone. Here's a lead list in a market that you've never even spoken to. Call everyone. They don't know who you are on the other end. And especially now that like Apple can just screen the calls before you're coming through, you need to build a little bit of a like social presence, and that can be through email, LinkedIn, podcast, events. You don't need to go that far, but it obviously helps. But we always send a couple of emails first. So by the time you get to the phone, they're like, oh, cool, you're the person that's been trying to catch me on email and LinkedIn, but they know what you're trying to sell, right? It's like, cool, I'm calling you about this specific role, or you're trying to sell this specific thing. So I think a combination of it works really well. But again, after that, picking up the phone for us has been like the best channel this year.
Yeah, and for us, I know we're selling to you directly, but that face-to-face is our point of difference in the market. There's always somebody at the end of the phone, and I think that's the most important thing to remember as a bunch of recruiters. Is people are buying into you, right? It's relationships, and that's number one. How we work, because we try and replicate what's happening within the industry. So, and I don't think AI is ever going to take that away, in all honesty, no matter how sophisticated we get and all the clever AI with facial recognition and all that kind of stuff. Like, you're buying into people, you're buying into personalities, and that's how you're building relationships. And that's the thing not to forget. So not to over automate and not to just like think it's a personalized email so it makes sense. You can tell what's ChatGPT. I know I say it the wrong way around, but you can tell, and it's got the hyphens and it doesn't have your brand essence to it. So just keeping that in mind.
Any others? Yes.
One of the I think the biggest challenge we have when it comes to CRMs is that LinkedIn's more up to date. So a lot of our consultants find that they're going to get the more up-to-date information quicker by going straight to LinkedIn. So from a CRM perspective, do you guys see LinkedIn as a competitor, or do you see yourself working in conjunction with it? And is there any way that we're going to be able to get an ATS that that will update itself as LinkedIn updates? Because that's the major issue we face, is that we can't update it as quickly as LinkedIn can.
That's already there.
Okay. That wasn't a planned question, but yeah, that already exists. That's what we offer. That's like a auto updating database. It updates based on your emails, phone calls, but also just latest LinkedIn information. Yeah, that's there. And I think LinkedIn competitor. I wouldn't. Yeah, you can't start competing with LinkedIn. So yeah.
But I suppose the question is, if I can distill it down further, is we're all spending a lot of money on LinkedIn Recruiter. How can we reduce that spend through our ATS? Is that possible, especially in a job board centric market like Australia, where the spend is just crazy here?
No, but you can reduce it through Veritime.
Oh, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Right, we're going to close off it on that. Well done. Well done. Well done. Yeah, you said it fine. Right. Okay, so big round of applause for the guests, and we'll get going in 5 minutes' time. Fill up your glasses. Let's go. All right. Feel underdressed with these two guys, hey? Where's my Rolex watch? Where's my suit? Oh no. Okay, so first section was great. You know, really interesting getting into the details. And now we're going to go into two subjects. One, I want to get a macro look at things. So, speak to an Australian recruiter. Yeah, we're doing great. Killing it. We're the greatest. But Paul knows if you're the greatest or not because he probably has your books. So he knows who's doing what they need to do, and that information is gold because it cuts between all the noise. And Dara here is an excellent operator. So I suppose just I'll let Paul introduce himself first.
So yeah, Paul Masters. I've been doing work within the recruitment industry for probably about 20 years. We run a firm called Sovereign Private, and we focus on the staffing and recruitment market. We do tax, accounting work, also virtual CFO work for the industry. And more recently, starting in 2019, we started doing M&A work, mainly working on the sell side of transactions. We've got 25 staff in Sydney, and it's run by myself and my wife, Sheridan.
These two lads are wondering, how many millionaires have you made since 2019?
There's probably, in terms of deals, there'd probably be 15, I would say, and yeah, and one that is probably worth $250 million. Yeah,
$250 million.
yeah.
Can you tell us who that is?
Tracy Thompson at Finite. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So, yeah.
Incredible. Okay, great stuff. Okay, so going to get into some of the details on this.
Mm.
I was lucky enough to have you on the podcast years ago,
Yeah, yeah.
and I knew nothing about the subject, and it was just fascinating. So hopefully I can illuminate some of you who don't know how that M&A world works. I appreciate some of you have big agencies here. Some of you are thinking of setting up an agency. Some of you have independent recruitment agencies. But hopefully we're going to get to the nuts and bolts of how you can sell something. And if you're not selling something, how you can perform it within an inch of its life. There he is.
Very good.
Give us a bit of an intro into yourself, and I'll tell them all the lies.
Sure. So my name is Dara Everard. I'm the managing director of the Anderson Partnership and a recruitment firm called Urku in Ireland. So my background's 15 years in the industry. Started off in Ireland, moved to Perth, worked for Robert Walters for a couple of years, trained there, and that's where I met Dulta. Joined the Anderson Partnership.
Taught him everything he knows.
They give me a break. But we have quite a few stories on each other, so let's not.
Only one of us cares about
That
our public
camera-
image,
that-
though.
That camera's rolling. I think both of our careers could be over in about 90 seconds, so let's not go there. But no, so I joined the Anderson Partnership about 12 years ago. I was approached by the owner at the time, who was a very successful recruitment entrepreneur, currently our chairman in both TAP and Urku. And he was looking to set up an office in Perth, which myself and my boss at the time did. We grew that from 3 of us to 15. And then I moved to Ireland, set up an office firm there. Again, grew that from 1, myself on day 1, to 15. And then he and I completed a management buyout. We bought it off the group. So we have our own business in Ireland, recruiting professional services. I then moved out to the Caribbean with his blessing. I caught him on a really good day during COVID. I had an idea for an offshore recruitment company that would place people into tax-free jurisdictions. So my thinking was during COVID, we had lots of government subsidies that the governments were going to want to take back. And we had lots of young people who'd qualified as accountants and lawyers in their parents' bedrooms and wanted to go and travel somewhere. So I moved out to the Caribbean for a couple of years, Barbados and Cayman, set that up out there. And then I was sitting on the beach in Cayman for 6 months and 1 day of the year for tax purposes, and then coming back to Ireland for the rest of it. And really
We had a good
enjoying
time there, right?
Great time, really good time. But I was 10 years in at that point, and I think, whenever you start off in recruitment, you sit in front of someone and they tell you, in 10 years you can have your own business and be sitting on a beach and it all goes really well. I got that, and then decided I wanted a little bit more punishment. The chairman of TAP asked me to come over here because his MD had resigned, and asked me if I'd run this business. So I moved out to Sydney 2.5 years ago. So I'm based here in Sydney, but travel a lot to our offices in Melbourne, Brisbane, Perth, Auckland. Still go back to Ireland a bit. Unfortunately, I don't have the time for Cayman anymore, which I wish I did. But consolidated back into Ireland. So essentially I run all those offices. We have about 70 people today.
All right, excellent. I suppose, yeah, Dara mentioned there we worked together 15 years ago. He actually said to me, I'm working towards getting a job where I can run 4 or 5 offices, just fly to different offices and make it work and set up new offices. And here he is. So nice little anecdote. Another one is, we mentioned Backdoor Barry. He'll love to get mentioned here, by the way.
Yeah, we need to clarify that.
So Backdoor Barry, he's a debt recovery lawyer in England. And in England, everybody's a shark, right? This is Disneyland. Like in England, it is hard. And you come in some difficult situations. And one time I brought Dara. Dara came over and he spoke at my son's christening. And my mother says, I roll him out every time I'm trying to take the bad look off myself, which might be true. And so anyway, we go down to Brighton, where Barry's based, and we go into Barry's office. And Dara, I said, this is Dara. He runs this in Dublin, has this in Australia. They've recently closed their London office. There might be some debt there. And he said, okay, let me make a phone call. And before we knew it, you'd made a ton of money on debt recall. We had a great weekend, and that was it.
Tell me the baseball bat.
Yeah, you tell him about the baseball bat.
So this guy is very good. He's a recruiter turned lawyer. So that's all he does is chase debts for really angry recruiters. But he has this thing where for your first fee that he collects for you, he gives you a baseball bat. That's his thing. So you hang the baseball bat up in the office. So we had an office that had closed in London, and there was a book there of bad debt. And the guys who run the business said, look, forget about it. No one's going to get it. And I said, give it to me. Let me chase it. I said, will you give me some of it if I can get it? So I said to him, I said, we need to find someone who can get this cash. He said, let's go down here. Went down, did get a lot of it back, and got a baseball bat.
Here we go. So you never know in recruitment, right? Okay.
If we don't know KPIs, Derek gets us with
Yeah. Proper order too. Yeah, deadly. All right, Paul. I suppose I'll start with you. After COVID, it was pretty amazing, right? Like everybody's figures were inflated. Are people thinking, I want to sell right now? Or are they like what was the general mood in the market at that point? And what's been the last couple of years from an M&A perspective? Because it's very hard to distill what success is at any particular time in recruitment.
Yeah, it was a fantastic time. It was a bit of a crazy time, 2022. There were agencies that wanted to sell during that time, and they did. Like Tracy Thompson at Finite was one of them. I think they'd been around the block a few times, and they knew that the good times probably wouldn't last. And we did over the period of 22 to 23, we did 7 deals, and most of those businesses went backwards in 2024. In fact, I think all of them went backwards in 2024.
Let me run through some housekeeping questions. How much do I need to make from a profit perspective to get the conversation with you that makes sense?
It's the minimum is probably $2 million EBIT. But
Can you explain EBIT?
yeah,
I'm sure everybody knows, but
EBIT is earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, and amortization. So that's the effectively call it profit before tax that you have to make. But to get a really good multiple, you're probably looking at 3.5 million EBIT. And
so if I have two, and I'm a
you're
firm
still
business,
saleable. You're still very saleable.
what do you get? Me, what do you get me, Paul?
With and this
I
is
want
all,
5 multiple.
yeah, we'll easily get 5.
Yeah?
depending on a few things. But the ACR World deal we did was around, and this is all public information, so you could look at Mawson's accounts in Manchester and see this. But that was around that $2 million mark, and we got a multiple of 6.3 on that.
Wow. And so a lot of the things we're told from advisors is you have to have a contract book in order to be able to sell.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah, this used to be drummed a lot. The perfect harmony was 50% at a gross profit level was 50% perm and 50% contracting. I tend to disagree with that. There's nothing wrong with that, but an agency that is predominantly perm can still be sold, and a good example was 4 Quarters.
Yeah.
Back in the beginning of 2024, where that business was 75% perm, $6 million EBIT. This is all public information. You can look at the Japanese buyers' accounts, and we sold that for 7 times. 75% of the business at 7 times, and then we had a put and call, which we will exercise later this year at 7.5 times the EBIT in the FY26 year.
So if we could delve into that deal, if you may, because I know a tiny bit about it. How long were they required to stay in as a leadership team, and what does the next stage of that deal look like, just for anybody that's thinking about that type of thing?
So there's only a requirement to stay during that period up to the in that case it was a put and call, or generally you hear earn out. Earn out is more European and American, but where you've got Japanese, it's more of a put and call. But you're only required to stay in until that last payment's made, and then you can exit after that. But there are still restraints. Yeah.
Do you have to exit, or can you?
No.
Can you buy back in at that stage, or is there any?
Generally, you wouldn't buy back in, but a good example of somebody that stayed in was I don't know if you guys know James Hone at Bluefin. He stayed in for quite some time after the earnout, a good 5 years. But he, the deal that the Japanese put to him was a terrific deal, and it was more of a strategic deal. It was more to grow Bluefin and outsourcing's business in Australia through acquisition, and James jumped at that role, and that's generally what most owners we try to put them in a role afterwards where it's a bit more strategic. It's not as though they're running teams. It's more of a strategic role to grow that business, not only in Australia but in the APAC region.
Who's buying it, and what are they buying?
So we've focused a lot of energy on the Japanese market over the last 2 years, probably nearly 3 years now. Traditionally, the Japanese buyers in Australia have been Recruit, Outsourcing, Will Group, and Persol, these sort of the big boys in the Japanese market. But what we've done is focus more on the next level down within the Tokyo Stock Exchange, which there's probably, and this is what people don't understand, the Japanese market is massive.
Second biggest in the world, right?
Yeah, it's huge. So there are about 300 recruitment and staffing businesses in the Tokyo Stock Exchange, and you would never have heard of them. So the business that bought 4 Quarters, for example, called Matching Services Japan, you would never have heard of them. But we tracked them down, and nobody speaks English. It's very challenging, but what we've done as a firm is we've built a network of buy-side advisors in Japan that assist us with translating the flyer, which is sort of like the initial document that you send out, and then the information memorandum as well. They translate it all. We go to market in Japan. The buy-side advisors help us. They get paid on the buy side. I get paid on the sell side.
Can you succinctly explain to me what's the difference between getting a 5 and a 7 multiple? Like what does my business have to do? And I suppose I want to open up with that question then to yourself in terms of the operational impacts of that. Like, because I'm hearing,
Yeah,
I
no,
think
no.
Faden were the last big one in the UK that went on a perm basis.
Yeah, it's look. There's a couple of things that are sort of you've got to tick the box on. Firstly, that EBIT number that I was talking about, that profit number, it needs to be at a certain level to get that. 3.5 is the sweet spot, but it's possible to do it at 2. Secondly, second tier of management. You've got to have the second tier of management in there. If the founders,
That's you guys there.
if the founders are still running the business and are still heavily involved in the business, and even worse, they're actually on the tools, that's not a good thing. They need to have almost made themselves redundant. So you've got to have that second tier of management. Third thing is, it comes up all the time, is client concentration issues. So where you've got one client that represents over 15% of the gross profit of the business. If it's over 15%, normally it has to be discounted down. So that's the, it's just a that's a deal breaker. And probably, overarching all of that is if you're a generalist, you're going to struggle with getting that sort of multiple.
Who's selling then? Like which disciplines are hot?
I think I could sell anything that's niche.
Nicely played. Nicely played.
Yeah, that's niche.
Yeah.
Where I struggle is where you've got an agency that, they've been a fantastic technology recruiter over the years, and they've decided to go into healthcare.
Yeah.
That's where it. I'm sure it puts some some
Or a rec direct is turned into a note taker.
But it's not saleable if you've got a niche in an area and you are the best in that area, in that particular niche, you are very saleable.
So Dara, taking all this on board, what does that mean for businesses that are growing? What does it mean for your own experience when you come into a business? You've been in for the last 2 years, have you?
Yeah, 2.5 years. Yeah.
Can you walk us through what that means from looking at the balance sheet to planning how you execute performance across loads of offices?
Sure. So I think the first thing is to work out, how you get to that EBITDA figure. And there's only really 2 components to that. One is you look at your cost base, and then you look at how you can drive revenue. I think largely in recruitment, there's not much you can do about your cost base if you're competing at a certain level. Like, you have to pay salaries at a market rate if you want to retain the right people. If you want to meet, CBD based clients, you largely have to pay rent in there. CRMs typically cost what they do. this new one sounds like it might be pricey, but worth it. LinkedIn costs what it does. Expenses cost what they do. There's very actually little I believe you can really do about the cost per head. And then you've obviously got your fixed costs as well. So that could be leases, whatever other agreements you're involved in, LinkedIn contracts being another. So once your fixed cost base is at a certain point, you need enough headcount to cover that to be able to justify hitting the EBITDA number. So we just try and really focus on driving revenue. So that's really the key.
So let's jump into that.
Sure.
So you come over from being on a beach in Barbados, living your best life, right? And you get that phone call, like, dude, do you want to come back into the frying pan? And you're like, put me in, coach. Right. So you're Sydney, you're looking at the figures, you're doing the boardroom meeting. What does that look like from here's where we're at? How do you performance manage your way out of that?
Sure. So I guess whenever that happens, it's a little bit dependent on what's happening both internally in the business at the time and then externally what the market is doing as well. So my trip was well planned in a lot of ways, but as Paul detailed, that downward curve was about when my plane landed, I think, that you were talking about in terms of the industry. So that proved difficult in itself. Then we also had a number of own internal issues as well, that were localized in various different offices, and we had to rebuild a number of offices. The thing I learned through that is that each office that we have had, it typically pivots on the individual or individuals that run it. If you have a bad person running an office, it's going to fail. And we've had a few of them. If you've good people or a good person running an office, it can be a success really quickly. So we've actually rebuilt a few offices and certainly grown our Sydney one with the right people running them.
I can't believe John Bork placed them. I'm fucking fuming about it.
But it is. It's about getting those right people in because.
I'm not speaking at your event anymore, Dolph. The $5,000 I'll return. Right?
And then I think it's about trying to drive the right behaviors in the business, and I think. Ensuring that you have the right incentives, whether they be career-wise, commission-wise, incentive-wise, and then the right consequences for lack of performance as well.
Yeah.
Then that just hopefully keeps people in the right zone, and then you just have to try and retain the right people.
So the performance stuff interests me. So, and obviously the guys have done quite well who are here. What is it? So you're a very good judge of character, knowing you. How do you weed out the time wasters? And who are the people that you grab and you go, do you know what? You're going to make us a ton of money. You're going to make you a ton of money. This is going to work out. What's your process? Can you give us some like details on that?
Sure. It's funny, we talk about this a lot, actually. We're even talking about it yesterday. It's even in the small detail. Like I was running a training session yesterday for some of our new starters, and I can tell by the level of engagement in the session who I think will be a success and who won't. So there's a few stages to that process. I think the first is hiring people. There's a few things that are really important to us. One is, do they actually want the job? I think that's the major component. Do they have the desire for the job? Do they want to make money? Do they want to be meeting people? And do they want to do sales? The second thing is, are they positive enough to believe that those opportunities are out there? Are they then resilient enough to deal with it when those opportunities aren't out there? And then a really big thing that I've only been really realizing recently is the best people know what they're responsible for and what they're not responsible for. So often deals fall off, and that's why people leave the industry. But some of those events they weren't really responsible for, but they were responsible for how many meetings they booked that week, how many CVs they got out, how many new clients they approached, how many candidates they regged, how many calls they made. And if they just understood that they were responsible for that and not the consequences of some of it, I think they typically do really well.
When you're selling a business, do you have any idea on the culture of accountability on the business, or is it just you're the accountant looking at the figures? Like, can you get a feel of like, here's who I'm dealing with, and you're talking to your clients and going, listen, I know they have this system in place.
Yeah, it normally shows through in the results. It's interesting,
Is that over a long period of time, or?
Yeah, it needs to be over, and this is part of the issue that we've had. I said I did 7 deals in the period of 22-23. From February 24, February 25 to now. we've done 0 deals. And the reason is we're catching up on the poor performance during 2024.
We spoke about this.
Yeah, it's the industry. Now there are some exceptions.
Could deals happen?
Healthcare's an exception, but
Could deals
generally,
happen though?
yeah, like we've got 3 deals that we're working on at the moment that will, touch wood, should happen before the 30th of June. So, and that is a result of good figures in 2025, and 26 is looking good as well. So they're back on track. So they've got an increase. They've got growth from 24 to 25. Then now they'll have growth from 25 to 26. That's enough to go.
So just on that though, if the figures are beneath, would people still buy something if they thought they'd get a decent multiple for something? Like if they thought they'd get a bargain, would they buy, the buyers?
If the business wasn't performing, or
let's say it's performing less than 3 million.
The problem is buyer expectations. Seller expectations on price. That's the issue. Everybody. And the industry, I'll talk to somebody and they'll go, right, 2022, that's what I'm shooting for. I'm shooting for the EBIT that I made in 2022. Yeah. And that, in their mind, that's where they want their 7 times based on the 2022 numbers. But that's not the way it works. It's based on the last financial results. Look, at the moment, the transactions that I'm working on will probably be based on the FY26 numbers. And then we'll true it up. So we're running to a forecast on the 30th of June for 26.
It's an interesting one, because you think like, would people just go, I'll give you 4 times multiple, you're at a weak point?
Yeah, they will, but the sellers will never accept it. That's the issue that we've had, is that, and we pride ourselves with finding a strategic buyer. Now, if you don't achieve your forecast, or that's going to impact the price. We were working on a process in 2023, and this business was a fantastic business, perm business. It's doing $10 million EBIT, shooting the lights out. Now we had a forecast of not an overly aggressive forecast. It was 10.6. They ended up getting 4.7. That it was so bad in terms of the drop off of performance and we had a buyer lined up. We had everything, ticked all the boxes, but the performance just kept on sliding every month. But that was the industry. It was the whole industry was feeling pain. The low point in the industry, as I say, there are some sectors that are not in this category, but the low point in the industry was December 2024. Yeah. That was the bottom.
I have some friends, and they do what you do on the UK side, and they've worked 5-10 years on deals, and everything fell off.
Everything fell away because nobody was achieving forecasts.
You wouldn't be sitting here having a chat, right?
It's just look. This is the first event that I've been to, touch wood, where we're feeling optimistic about the market.
Yeah, because
we've seen sustained growth in the market.
Can I ask you just a bit more detail on that? Technology, AI, all of that. From the buyer's perspective, is it swallowing the market, or are you still optimistic about the future? Because
it's at this stage, no. But if I had to predict, and because I'm having conversations with a lot of business there, so I talk to the M&A team in the large agencies around the world. Generally, what I'm hearing is that there's a slant for where there's definitely search and retained search is becoming more prevalent in discussions. So I am seeing a steering to sort of that more high end recruitment or search. It's definitely I'm hearing it more and more. Also, what I'm hearing is higher margins with contractors. No, and it comes back, it comes down to the payday super thing. It's if you're a blue collar recruitment agent or blue collar staffing agency, and you're doing, $300 or $400 million revenue, but you're only putting 3 million or 2 million onto the bottom line, the margins are so slim and the tied up working cap is so massive in the business. Something like payday super just has horrendous consequences. Buyers don't like that. They like high margin businesses, and that's why we've seen a professional services statement of works.
Statement of works, very interesting one. And if we want to just delve into that piece a little bit more, in IT recruitment, that means you own the project manager, right?
Yep.
You own the whole. You're almost like a CXC, or so you're an IT integrator with a project manager, and you're running stuff.
Yeah,
they go from 15% to 30% on the margins, right?
The margins are high, depending. Look, most of it's time and
In your
materials.
world, that's change management.
Most of it's time and materials as well. You get some of the more sophisticated agencies out there that turn to fixed price contracts, but the majority of them are time and materials, and the margin is significantly more.
Dara, how much of success is based around creating your own talent or headhunting from other people?
Personally, I think building your own. I prefer that. Yeah.
Why is that?
I think that you can train people the way you want them to. I think that you can try and build their mindset a little bit as well. So we did some analysis on this recently. We've hired a number of people from other agencies, either locally or internationally, as well as generated our own consultants from scratch. And we tend to have better success with generating our own consultants from scratch. So I prefer it.
What do you think the secret sauce is for taking somebody from scratch?
Having the right environment for them, the right tools. We're very fortunate. We have our number one biller, Stephen, running our training program. Actually, Stephen, you might be good at this answer. That's Stephen there.
What was the question?
Okay, let me ask you a couple of questions.
All right, go for it.
Okay, so Stephen, you are in the detail, right? What's the difference between good and a really good recruiter? What do you like to say?
Just attitude number one, always. Like someone said earlier about, they got just told to dial 100 people off the spreadsheet. I think that's the secret sauce. If you can put someone in a room, say, look, do this, and they don't ask any questions, they just get stuck in, you can work with that. It's the people who's like, I'd rather focus on quality, I'd rather do this, I'd rather that. You don't know what that is. You're still green. So you learn by doing. Like, it's just consistent reps. You want to run a quicker 5K, you have to do 50 kilometers in a week to get there. You want to lift heavier in the gym, you have to do consistent reps. And if someone has the attitude where they just come in, they roll up the sleeves, get stuck in, they might know what they're doing, but they will get results. Like, we do these events and I go to them all the time. I'm like, I don't know if I agree with what people are saying, because it's a real simplified job. You put two people in a room, if it works out, great. But it's all the analysis paralysis, all the projects on LinkedIn, all the shit, to be really honest. The bread and butter is building relationships with people. And you build relationships by doing the job. Like, if you do enough quantity, whether you're good, bad, or ugly at the job, you get money. But when you mix good quantity with high quality, that's the real result. And it's the people who don't ask questions, who just don't ask questions, but they're prepared to do the hard yards. That's the secret sauce. People who roll up the sleeves and just get stuck in. If I ask them to do 50 calls in a week, the person I want is someone who's going to do 100. Because you get two recruiters starting day one. Recruiter A does 50 calls. Recruiter B does 100 calls. In 6 month times, Recruiter B has twice his experience as Recruiter A. So I would just say reps and attitude.
Makes sense, right?
This is quite simple, really, isn't
it? Can you come up here and sit down? We'll get that.
No,
So look, it's great to see enthusiasm for it like that. How do you? So you're in the coalface then, right? You know who the bluffer is, who they're not.
Oh
how,
yeah,
how do you work it? How do you work it out when you're interviewing a recruiter? What are some of your tricks to go time waster? Like you're going to be right. You're going to be right, and you're going to be doing 5Ks with us and coming out for a pint at this time, and you're going to do all the work. And
Well, I always think there's two types of people in the world: people who talk about doing things and people who do things. So, say for example, we've hired people with experience. They've came with supposedly a massive billings history, but they've came already expecting to hit the ground running. It's the people who don't have experience who are prepared to get stuck in tend to do better quicker. So you can ask all the right questions, and people in recruitment are good at bluffing. But I love people who have had good life experience. Maybe they've had a hard upbringing. Are they like have they had a sporting background? Maybe they've run a marathon, or we've interviewed a guy who climbed Kilimanjaro, and I'm like, they're the things that I look for because life experience is what allows you to connect with people. Like Dara travel around the world. Like there's no one you can put on the phone with Dara who he can't find common ground with. And like my personal opinion on recruitment is just building relationships, and that's how you build a relationship. You find common ground. So you can. I don't want someone who's like coming in saying like I'm a sales expert. I built 500k. Like that's great, but you're here now. What are you going to do here now? And the person who comes in who gets stuck in from the start and is just dialing numbers like mad, that's someone I want to work with. So we always call it the trenches. Who do I want to be in the trenches with? Because that's what I look for if I'm going to speak with someone, or if I do a training session with someone. Who do I want to be in the trenches with? Who do I want to BD with at 5 o'clock on a Friday? Who's going to be there?
yeah, very good. Okay, so let me open up some questions. So obviously, Paul's expertise is knowing what everybody in Australia builds, what everybody wants to buy, what the performance metrics are. Dara's excellent at managing and creating monsters like these guys. Let me shoot out a question. Who's got one? There we go.
What industries are you looking at this year in terms of success and volumes? What industries do you see the best agencies operate from?
Anything that's cyclically resilient, that's and that's why healthcare's done reasonably well over the period. Although their boom year was probably 2024, ironically, the year that the rest of the industry was down, but it's performed quite well. I think that anything that's got any industry that's got terrific growth prospects. So if you're in building construction and infrastructure, we can map out all the infrastructure projects in Australia over the next 5 years, and we can see that there is a assuming that it's not all cut off, but you can't start these things. The great thing is you can't start them and half finish them. The majority of the projects need to be finished. So where there's proven growth in a particular segment, that's attractive to buyers.
So somebody gets excited about blockchain. We never hear about that anymore. You're like, oh, that's a fad. I'm not into it.
Yeah. It's technology's been hit very hard, and that sector of the market was probably the hardest hit in 2024. There wasn't too many agencies that didn't suffer during that time in that sector. Luckily with a finite deal, we did a 9-month earnout, and we were out based on the 23 numbers. So we got out of it, thank goodness. But unfortunately the rest of the industry really did feel the heat. And with technology, for example, it's just started to recover. As I say, the December 2024, that was the low point with technology, and then it slowly crept back up over that period. And we're starting to see sustained growth. I would say that, we'll have some agencies in technology that are for sale probably in 6 to 9 months, because they're starting to get back to where they were.
And they can expect 7 or
we'd be shooting for those
even if
multiples.
they're like, would they get more if it's contract or?
No, we'd always shoot around those numbers because they're the great thing is now I can show the Japanese other deals that have been done in the industry, and I just go, well, here are the
Brilliant.
comparative deals.
Yeah.
And you know, it's I can be perfectly honest with them.
Yes. What can I?
You talked about finite being like a 9-month earnout. What's typical? Like, what's a
Yeah, that's really rare.
Right.
That's super rare.
3 years, right?
3 years at the longer end, and we are seeing now longer earnouts than we were back in 22.
is that given that basically everyone fucked up in 20?
Yeah, it's just that they want to see sustained growth and they want you to prove it. So we are seeing 3-year earnouts now. With interestingly, with 4 quarters, that was the first time ever that I've extended the earnout of a deal. Like originally it was going to be an 18-month deal, and we extended it to 30 just because we could see storm clouds on the horizon. When we did the deal back at the end of the deal was negotiated back at the back end of 24 and it completed in February 25, but we could see the market was turning, and we thought, okay, 18 months is not enough time to get things back in order. We need to extend it out, and thank goodness we did.
Yeah.
Yes, I think you have touched on this subject briefly already, but I'm speaking with a lot of recruiters that are focusing on just permanent or just contract and temp. When it comes to like an overall value of an agency or selling a company, how do you assess the importance of having a mixture of both?
Yeah, it's not as important as it was. Like the sweet spot used to be 50-50. But you know what I've found is, for example, in the Japanese market, you don't find a lot of agencies that do permanent contracting or permanent temp.
Yeah.
And search. And you know, they'll either do temp, they'll either do recruitment, or they'll do search. And that's the same with the US market as well. But they can do that because of the size of the market. We can't do that here. We can't just niche and say we're never going to do contracting, we'll just focus on perm. Our market's not big enough. We need to diversify. So the problem that I have with Japanese is that when they look at something, when they looked at the 4 quarters deal, they said, oh, we love the perm business, but we don't really want that contracting book. And we nearly fell off our chair. Because it was, you know, about 23% contracting. And, you know,
They probably worked their asses off.
they did. They worked, and it was paying a reasonable amount of the overheads as well, because you could rely on the cash to come in every month. And you know, they effectively said, no, you guys can keep that. And we said, well, it's too interwound in the business. You know, we need you to take that as part of the deal. So I don't think it's absolutely imperative to have a combination of both. Europe, in the UK, which is very similar to Australia, you do have the mix. It's very common to have the mix. And through most of Europe it is, but not in Japan and the US, it's not. So it's finding the right market for your agency. And that's what an advisor does.
Yes.
Sorry, I'll stop hugging the questions. Is it more attractive or less attractive if you're national? Like if you're just in the
Yeah, good question.
Based, would make a difference.
Can you give us a bit of context into your business?
We're Sydney with a Melbourne office. I guess it's something for us. It's like, do you go?
No. It's a really good question, because to answer it direct doesn't matter. And as long as you have a national presence, you don't necessarily have to have offices in every city. It's not an issue. No buyer is going to look at it and go, oh, why don't they have an office in Brisbane? Or as long as you're still approaching that market and still doing work within that market, that's fine.
Yes.
So we talked a lot about profitability of an agency and then temp and perm mixes and stuff like that. But whether you want to sell a business or you want to create a sustainable business, what would be 2 or 3 other things that a business owner would want to focus on to make it sustainable or sellable?
Yeah, I think the sort of going back, and I don't want to sort of repeat myself, but it's that second tier of management. You've got to grow a great leadership team. And if I look at the finite business, there was a terrific leadership team. That's why we could negotiate the 9-month earnout, because it could run itself quite, with Tracy stepping away. The client concentration issue, it is amazing how many agencies I see where they've got, particularly in Perth, where I see agencies and they've got one client that represents 75%, and it might be, they might be dealing with 7 different procurement managers within BHP or Rio or Woodside, or but the bottom line is it shows up as the one client when a buyer's looking at it. So that's super important. I think all the metrics, the stuff that Nigel Haas talks about all the time. Just make sure you're focusing on those metrics. If you've got staff costs that are starting to blow out, and you're seeing that staff costs are heading towards 75-80% of your gross profit, you're never going to make any money. You've got to get it down to 40-50% to make serious money. So are you paying your consultants too much? Do you have underperforming consultants within the business? So it's the metrics count for so much when a buyer's looking at the business, because that's what they see. And it's coming back to your questions on culture. Not enough checks are done on culture.
Yeah, let me let Dara jump in on that. So, I know you're quite proud of your leadership team here tonight. How does a business develop that second tier of leadership from just being builders, and how do you check in the culture, like you said?
Sure, I think it might start off with my point around why people get into recruitment and why they are good. It's the desire to do the job in the first place. The desire to want to help people, to hire, to train, retain, build, diversify their skill set over time.
Make money.
Yeah, and maybe just want to see themselves down the line, not just doing sales all day, every day for the next, say, 20 years. And a lot of people do that and they do very well out of it, but it's maybe just developing those other facets to your skill set that will enable your career to go in maybe a few different directions over time. Because I think, like,
the game has to evolve, right? For everybody.
I don't think it has to evolve for everyone, because I know people that are really happy just billing and they're 10, 15 years in. But I think if you maybe want to make more money over time, the ability to influence people to bill as well will generally generate more money for you, because then you can set up teams, companies, etc.
Yeah. And when you're in that process, how do you get them from being those hungry senior recruiters to future leaders of the business?
Ask them.
No, well, I'm asking you. I'm asking you. Like, what does that journey look like?
Yeah.
Sometimes you get lucky.
Yeah.
Sometimes, but there's no luck in culture.
Well, I think it's just
a numbers game, and
it's attempting it. Like, I think it's the only way you can do it is to try it. Like, we've a lot of people who try it and don't necessarily like it, and we've a lot of people who try it and really take to it. And I think the idea is not to fully remove yourself from the recruitment side of your role straight away, but generally just breed it in over time, so it becomes 5% of your week you're maybe sitting in on a few interviews. Then it maybe becomes 10% of your week you're booking a few interviews. And then you're training one person, and then you're training 2, and then you're doing a few KPI meetings, and then you're doing a few performance reviews, and then you're promoting people, and then you're giving them salary reviews, and then you train them how to do it. And it kind of goes like that. And then you have to assess your level of enjoyment along the way of doing that. And if you get a real kick out of that, then it's for you.
See, I'm trying to distill like 10 years of your experience and like an answer. It's really tricky. And you're like, fuck, of course this is obvious, but it's not obvious to everybody because you've done it for so many details. So does anybody have any questions on this? Yes?
I have one question on this. What I found a really cool ability that you basically have the confidence to go to whatever country and just hire one person or be by yourself and then grow into like 15 people. That's, I think, super interesting. And the question here is it only you finding the best people, or is there also something else involved? Processes, anything else besides finding the right people and training them?
That's a great question.
Yeah. So, well, firstly, I'm very fortunate that we have I have a really experienced board behind me. So in terms of I guess just getting through all the mistakes you need to make in any process to get to a successful conclusion, they've been able to educate me along the way. So that's been a massive help. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, but what did they learn you? Does this board kind of do?
Yeah, so eventually you can develop a blueprint over time. So again, I was very fortunate. The board that I work with they've set up between them, I'd say about 30 offices in countries all over the world. So we set up offices in Australia, New Zealand, Hong Kong, Singapore, London, Dublin. I was very fortunate. I was involved in 2 out of 14 office setups. So as we were growing the business, I got to see all these different offices set up, and I got to see the ones that worked and the ones that didn't. So I kind of got this real like first-hand experience at seeing why something failed, why something gradually failed.
What would you say the blueprint is, though?
It's the person, firstly. Like I said earlier, like I think it is, though. It's based on the person of the people who run the office. Like that's one thing that we've really been able to demonstrate, is that it always pivots on the individual, because the individual then dictates everything else that happens. It dictates the clients you bring on, the people that you hire, how people are trained, the ability to then retain people. And that's a really big issue, because when you set up a new office, it's actually quite easy to attract people, because people are fixated by anything new in the industry, and they'll generally want to get in at the ground level. But the difficult part becomes like 3 to 5 years in. I think it's relatively easy to get to 8 people. To get past 8 is really difficult, and then to sustain that for a long period of time is difficult.
It's a good question. Another question.
But it's an incredibly fun part of recruitment that I think a lot of people don't get, is that you can take it anywhere. Once you know how to do that, then you can take it anywhere, and that means that you can learn a lot. Like recruitment's very different around the world, and that's an interesting way to spend a career, I think.
Got another question? No?
Everyone wants to go, does it?
No? Yes.
I got one. What would be the ideal time frame to achieve that kind of, so to get an office to a point where you want to sell size wise and revenue wise? In your head, what would be that like ideal time frame? Like what's too long and what's you're not quite ready yet?
I think that depends on the level of capital you have to set it up.
Yeah.
So if you've got the funds to set it up, which we were very fortunate to have on day one, because our chairman had exited his previous business, then you can do it relatively quickly. Like I think we got to 50 people within, I think, 4 to 5 years. We got to 50 people in 4 offices. But that was because we had the finances and the expertise to do it. But I think there's too many factors to really give you. Yeah, because you
look at Storm in the UK. They built up, they hired everybody, they made it happen. They went bust, they phoenixed, they came up again. And you see it all the time. Firms get up, the boom happens, they hire, they get all their LinkedIn licenses, they get their offices. They then go bust, but the business isn't like caught on anything. So then they start up again. You can't predict the market, right? So people, timing, expertise. I don't know if there's a formula.
No, and there's also an incredibly amount of unforeseen events in recruitment and in the market. So you just never know what's going to affect you.
Yeah. Look, guys, 2 amazing guests. Really thank you all so much for coming here. Thank you to our sponsors as well. Really appreciate all you guys. And any last questions before we shut it off? No? All right. Bar is maybe still open, is it? No? Bar's closed. Right. Let's go to another bar. All right. Thank you.